The manila envelope hit my desk with a soft thud, but it might as well have been a bomb. I looked up from my marketing presentation to find 3 men in suits standing over me, their faces a practiced blend of professional detachment and subtle judgment. My name is Melina, and this was the moment my carefully constructed life began to crumble. Mrs. Summers, the tallest one stepped forward. I'm Ricky Long from the bailiff's office. These documents require your immediate attention. The fluorescent lights of the office suddenly felt too bright. Around me, keyboards stopped clicking. Heads turned. I could feel Sarah from accounting pretending not to stare from her cubicle. There must be some mistake, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I don't have any pending legal matters. Ricky's expression didn't change. Ma'am, your accounts have been frozen due to outstanding debts. Multiple loans taken out in your name have defaulted. What loans? The words came out sharp, cutting through the heavy silence of the office. He began listing figures that made my head spin. Credit cards maxed out, personal loans, even a second mortgage I'd never heard of, all in my name. That's impossible, I whispered, but my trembling fingers were already opening the envelope. Document after document spilled out, each one bearing what looked like my signature, but I'd never seen any of them before. My boss, Gemma, materialized beside my desk. Melina, step into my office, please. The walk across the floor felt endless. Every eye followed me, and I could already hear the whispers starting. The woman who managed million-dollar marketing campaigns couldn't manage her own finances. The irony wouldn't be lost on anyone. I need to place you on administrative leave, Gemma said once her door closed. Company policy, given the financial situation. I nodded numbly, gathering my things. My phone buzzed. Wade. My husband's face lit up the screen, but I let it go to voicemail. First, I needed answers. The drive home was a blur. I parked in our driveway, staring at the house we'd bought together 3 years ago. Had that all been a lie too? Wade's car was already there. He met me at the door with that easy smile that usually made my heart flutter. Now it made me sick. Hey babe, rough day? He moved to kiss me, but I stepped back. Might want to explain why I was served with papers for loans I never took out? His smile faltered for just a second. Oh, that. Look, it's not a big deal. I had to help family out with some things. Not a big deal? My laugh sounded hollow. Wade, there's over $200,000 in debt with my name on it. He ran a hand through his hair. His tell when he's nervous. Melina, you're overreacting. Family helps family. You know how important that is to us. Us or your family? The distinction had always been clear, though I'd tried to ignore it for years. Come on, you're being dramatic. I thought you knew about this. We discussed it. We absolutely did not discuss this. My voice was rising now. You forged my signature, Wade. That's fraud. He stepped closer, hands up in a placating gesture. Baby, listen. Natasha needed help with some wedding expenses. It was temporary. We'll figure it out. Natasha. Of course, this was about his precious sister. I pushed past him, heading upstairs to our bedroom. I needed space, needed to think. That's when I saw it, the corner of a paper peeking out from his sock drawer. Wade never put papers in his sock drawer. What are you doing? His voice had an edge now as I pulled the drawer open. Invoices, dozens of them, for flowers, catering, venue rentals, all with Natasha's name clearly printed at the top. The total made me dizzy. You emptied our accounts for your sister's wedding? The papers shook in my hands. You took out fraudulent loans in my name for her party? Wade's face changed then, something cold replacing the charm. She's family, Melina, real family, and you never understood what that means. I stared at him, this stranger wearing my husband's face, and realized with startling clarity that I was looking at the man who had just destroyed my life. You're right, I said quietly, carefully placing the invoices back in the drawer. I never understood your kind of family at all. The text message from Amelia came the next morning. Family meeting, 2 p.m., don't be late. I almost laughed. After 15 years of being treated like an outsider at every Thanksgiving, Christmas, and family gathering, now they wanted to talk? My best friend Caitlin's voice crackled through my car's speakers as I drove to the Summers house. You don't have to go, Mel. They're just going to gaslight you. I need to hear what they say, I replied, gripping the steering wheel tighter. I need to understand how deep this goes. Record everything, she advised. I mean it. These people aren't your family anymore. I pulled up to the sprawling colonial house where Wade had grown up. Natasha's white Range Rover was already parked out front, along with Wade's car. Of course, they'd arrived early to coordinate their stories. The front door opened before I could knock. Amelia stood there, perfectly coiffed as always, her disapproval radiating like a physical force. Finally, she said, checking her watch. We've been waiting. The living room felt like a courtroom. Wade and Natasha sat on one couch, their father John in his usual armchair, silent and stone-faced. I took the single chair across from them, feeling like a defendant. Let's discuss your dramatic behavior, Amelia began, perching beside Natasha. My dramatic behavior? I kept my voice level. You mean discovering I'm hundreds of thousands in debt without my knowledge? Natasha leaned forward, her enormous engagement ring catching the light. We all knew about the financial arrangements, Melina. Stop pretending you didn't. When exactly did I agree to this? I pulled out my phone, opening my recording app. Because I have proof of Wade forging my signature. Put that away, Amelia snapped. This is a family matter. Family? I laughed. Is that what you call fraud now? Wade finally spoke up. Baby, I told you. We discussed this. You were fine with helping Natasha. When? I challenged. Name one conversation where we discussed emptying our accounts and taking out loans in my name. He shifted uncomfortably. You're always so focused on your career. Maybe you weren't listening properly. There it is, Natasha jumped in. Always about your job, your money. You've been using my brother as a retirement plan since day one. I stared at her, incredulous. I make twice what Wade does. I've supported us for years while he found himself in different careers. How dare you? Amelia stood up. My son has worked hard to provide for you, and this is how you repay him? By attacking our family? Your family stole from me, I said, my voice shaking. Your precious daughter knew Wade was committing fraud to fund her fantasy wedding, and you all helped cover it up. John cleared his throat, the first sound he'd made. But Natasha cut him off. You never belonged here, she hissed. You've always been jealous of what we have. Our connections, our status. This is just another attempt to tear us down. I stood up, suddenly calm. You're right about one thing. I never belonged here, and thank God for that. Sit down, Amelia commanded. We're not finished. Yes, we are. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Natasha? I hope your wedding is everything you deserve. I was halfway to my car when Wade caught up to me. Melina, wait, they're just upset. We can work this out. There's nothing to work out, I said, getting in my car. But there's plenty to investigate. I drove straight to Caitlin's place. She opened her door, took one look at my face, and pulled out her laptop. Time to go detective mode? She asked, already typing. Show me everything you can find on Wade's accounts. Her fingers flew over the keyboard. Already started digging. Found some interesting account numbers in his email. One of them was emptied 3 months ago. She turned the screen toward me. There it was. A joint account I'd never known about, drained of nearly $50,000. The money was transferred to an account under N. Blair, Caitlin said quietly, Natasha's married name. My phone buzzed with a text from Wade. You're making a huge mistake. Family forgives. I showed it to Caitlin, who snorted. Family forgives? Family doesn't commit felony fraud. No, I agreed, a new determination settling over me. But family does keep receipts. I looked at my best friend, seeing the same fierce protectiveness I'd always valued in her. Help me burn it all down? She cracked her knuckles and grinned. Honey, I thought you'd never ask. You need to see this, Caitlin said, waving me over to her desk. 3 days had passed since the family ambush, and we'd been working like FBI agents on a high-profile case. She pointed to her screen. Remember that shared cloud storage you and Wade use? He's not very tech-savvy. Never deleted the automatic audio backups from his phone. My heart raced as she clicked play. Wade's voice filled the room, talking to his best friend Sterling. I had to do it, man. Natasha needed the money, and Melina would have said no. Dude, that's straight up fraud. Sterling's voice crackled through the speaker. You forged her signature. It's not like that. I did it for family. Melina would understand if she just stayed quiet about it. I felt sick. Save everything, I told Caitlin. Every file, every conversation. Already on it. She was typing furiously. And look at this. I found the notary stamps he used. They're all from the same place, but the dates don't match up with their official records. My phone buzzed. Wade again. I'd moved in with Caitlin temporarily, and he'd been calling nonstop. You should answer it, Caitlin suggested. Record everything. I picked up. What do you want, Wade? Baby, come home. We can talk about this. His voice was honey sweet, the way it always got when he wanted something. I miss you. Miss having access to my credit, you mean? He sighed dramatically. You're being ridiculous. I already explained about Natasha's wedding. Why can't you just support me on this? Support you? I laughed. You mean like how you supported me by destroying my credit score? That's temporary. Once the wedding's over, I'll still be liable for fraudulent loans. I could go to jail, Wade. There was a pause. Then his voice dropped lower. She'll never go through with it. She still loves me too much. My blood ran cold as I realized he wasn't talking to me. He must have another call coming in. He'd forgotten to hang up. Trust me, he continued to whoever was listening. I know how to handle her. I ended the call, hands shaking. Caitlin was already pulling up more documents. Look at these loan applications, she said. He didn't just forge your signature. He backdated everything to make it look like you agreed months ago. I leaned in closer. Wait, go back to that bank statement. She scrolled up. There it was, a series of transfers from our joint account to one I'd never seen before. He moved the money before taking out the loans, I realized. Made it look like I had access to those accounts when I didn't. Classic fraud pattern, Caitlin nodded. He's not as clever as he thinks. Left digital breadcrumbs everywhere. My phone lit up with a text from Natasha. Stop investigating. You're only embarrassing yourself. I showed it to Caitlin, who smirked. Perfect timing. Watch this. She pulled up a series of WhatsApp messages between Wade and Natasha, somehow retrieved from the cloud backup. How'd you get these? I asked, amazed. Let's just say your husband should really change his passwords from Natasha Best Sis 1988. She scrolled through the messages. Look at the dates. They planned this months ago. The messages were damning. Natasha complaining about wedding costs. Wade promising to handle it. Discussions about using my credit because it was better than his. We need more, I said, determination replacing my shock. How deep does this go? Caitlin cracked her knuckles. Already working on it. I've got a friend at the bank who owes me a favor. Want to see what other accounts they're hiding? Just then, my email pinged. An invitation from Natasha to her wedding rehearsal dinner. Don't delete that, Caitlin said quickly. This is perfect. Perfect? It's another trap. She grinned. Exactly. And you're going to walk right into it, wearing a wire. I stared at the invitation, remembering every snide comment, every exclusion, every moment they made me feel less than. Now they'd given me the perfect stage for their downfall. You know, I said slowly. Natasha always wanted to be the center of attention. Let's make sure she gets her wish. Caitlin's smile turned wicked. That's my girl. Now let's talk about hidden microphones and exactly how many copies of these recordings we should make. I looked at the growing pile of evidence on her desk. Forged documents, secret accounts, damning conversations. They thought they could bury me in their lies. They had no idea I was about to become their gravedigger. The wedding vendor's voice trembled over the phone. Mrs. Summers, I'm so sorry, but these contracts, your signature appears on documents you say you never signed. Could you send me copies? I asked, giving Caitlin a thumbs up. She was recording everything. Of course. The thing is, Miss Natasha specifically told us you had approved all the expenses. After hanging up, I spread the new documents across Caitlin's dining table. 5 different vendors, all with forged signatures. The total made me dizzy. Look at these notary stamps, Caitlin pointed. They're good fakes, but the registration numbers don't match state records. My phone buzzed. Amelia. You vindictive little witch, she spat before I could speak. How dare you contact the vendors? I'm just following the money, Amelia. You know, like the police will. Is that a threat? Her voice went ice cold. Because if you're threatening my family, I'll bury you in defamation suits so deep. Funny you should mention lawsuits, I cut in. I just got some interesting documents about forged notary stamps. The line went quiet for a moment. John, I heard her call out, slightly muffled. John, come deal with this. My father-in-law's tired voice came on the line. Melina. Yes, John? He sighed heavily. Please, let's not make this worse than it needs to be. Worse? I laughed. Your son committed fraud. Your daughter knew about it. How much worse should I let it get? He didn't respond, but I heard Amelia in the background. Don't negotiate with her. Goodbye, John, I said softly. Give my love to the family. Caitlin was already pulling up more files on her laptop. You need to see this. I got into the vendor's messaging system. A WhatsApp voice memo played. Melina's credit is pretty good. Natasha's voice rang clear. Just have Wade write her name in. She'll never know. She doesn't even check the accounts anymore. Bingo, Caitlin whispered. My email pinged. From Natasha. You were never family. You were a social upgrade for Wade, and now you're not even that. Back off, or I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of gold digger you really are. Forward that to me, Caitlin said. It's going in the evidence folder. Another call came in. Wade. What are you doing? He demanded. My mum's hysterical. Natasha's vendors are calling, and Sterling won't even talk to me anymore. Sounds like a personal problem. This is serious, Melina. You're going after my family. No, Wade. Your family went after me first. I kept my voice steady. How's that wedding planning going? You're just jealous, he sneered. Jealous that Natasha's getting the wedding you never had. The wedding I never had because you said we couldn't afford it? I clicked through more bank statements. Funny how that worked out. He hung up. Seconds later, my phone exploded with texts from unknown numbers. Natasha's friends, calling me every name in the book. They're mobilizing, Caitlin observed, getting sloppy. Good. I forwarded each message to her. More evidence. She pulled up a new screen. Speaking of evidence, look what I found in Wade's deleted emails. He's been moving money around since January. The transactions told a clear story. Systematic draining of our joint accounts, careful transfers to hide the trail, all leading to Natasha's wedding vendors. He really thought he'd get away with this, I murmured. Men like Wade always do. Caitlin typed rapidly. But here's the best part. I found something he definitely didn't want anyone to see. She turned her screen toward me. There were more transfers, smaller ones, to someone named Olive Johnson. The wedding planner? I leaned closer. Yep, personal payments, not business ones. And look at the dates, late night meetings, hotel charges. The pieces clicked. He was sleeping with her while using your money to pay for his sister's wedding, Caitlin confirmed, which the wedding planner was organizing. My phone buzzed again, an invitation to Natasha's rehearsal dinner. Please come, the text read. Let's put this ugliness behind us. Family should be together at times like these. Caitlin raised an eyebrow. Well? I smiled, thinking of the wire recording equipment sitting in her desk drawer. Oh, I wouldn't miss it for the world. They really have no idea what's coming, do they? No, I said, looking at the mountain of evidence we'd collected. But they will. The rehearsal dinner venue sparkled with expensive lighting and pretension. I adjusted the tiny microphone hidden in my necklace, Caitlin's latest spy gadget acquisition, and walked through the door. Melina! Natasha's voice dripped with artificial sweetness. I'm so glad you came to your senses. She air-kissed my cheeks, her diamond ring deliberately catching the light. Behind her, Wade shifted uncomfortably. Wouldn't miss it, I smiled. Family should be together, right? Amelia appeared, champagne in hand. Well, isn't this civilized? Though that dress is a bit casual for the occasion. I smoothed down my simple black cocktail dress. Oh, you know how it is when your accounts are frozen. Limited options. Her smile tightened. Across the room, I spotted Olive Johnson, the wedding planner, directing staff. She pointedly avoided looking in my direction. Ladies and gentlemen, Natasha called out, tapping her glass. Please, find your seats. I was placed at the far end of the table, next to Sterling, who couldn't quite meet my eyes. Perfect. How's Wade doing? I asked him softly. Still worried about those loan documents? He nearly choked on his wine. Melina, I didn't know. When he told me what he'd done. But you know now, I said, making sure my necklace caught his words clearly. Don't you? Before he could respond, Natasha stood for a toast. I want to thank everyone who made this possible, especially my amazing brother Wade. He's gone above and beyond to give me the wedding of my dreams. Scattered applause. Wade raised his glass weakly. Without him, Natasha continued, her voice carrying to my recorder, none of this would have happened. He handled everything so perfectly, without any interference. I watched Wade drain his glass. Beside me, Sterling shifted uncomfortably. Even if she exposes us, Natasha's voice dropped as she leaned toward her fiancé, not realizing how well sound carried in the quiet room. Wade's not legally guilty. He used joint resources. It's her tough luck. I smiled into my water glass. If only she knew about the documentation proving Wade had transferred marital funds into his sole name before the fraud began. Olive approached our end of the table, presumably to discuss final details. She froze when she saw me, then quickly turned away. Olive, I called out sweetly. No hello for your client's sister-in-law? She mumbled something and practically ran to the other end of the table. Wade suddenly became very interested in his napkin. You know, don't you? Sterling whispered. About Wade and Olive? I finished. The hotel receipts were quite detailed. His face paled. Oh, God. Sterling! Wade called out sharply. A word? They disappeared into the hallway. I excused myself to the ladies' room, carefully positioning myself near their hushed conversation. What did you tell her? Wade hissed. Nothing. But man, this is messed up. The loans, the affair. You need to come clean. Are you insane? Do you know what Natasha would do if this wedding gets ruined? What I would do about what? Natasha's voice joined them. I peeked around the corner. Wade's face was ashen. Nothing, sis, just last-minute details. Better be, she snapped. I've worked too hard for this. We all have. I stepped out, making them jump. Have we? Some of us didn't even know we were working on it at all. Natasha's eyes narrowed. You just couldn't help yourself, could you? Had to come here and make drama? Drama? I laughed, like secretly draining someone's accounts, forging their signature, having an affair with the wedding planner? The color drained from both their faces. You're lying, Natasha whispered. Am I? Ask your brother about the Hotel Madison receipts. Ask Olive why she's avoiding me. Wade grabbed my arm. Outside. Now. I pulled away. Touch me again and I'll scream. I'm sure the guests would love to hear about how you funded this little party. You vindictive bitch, Natasha spat. You'll never prove any of it. I touched my necklace. Actually, I just did. This entire conversation, recorded, along with your little comment about joint resources earlier. Wade's face went from white to green. Melina, please. Oh, don't worry, I said, heading back to the dining room. This was just the rehearsal. Wait until you see what I have planned for the actual wedding. I walked away, leaving them in the hallway with their unraveling lies. Behind me, I heard Natasha's shrill voice. Wade, what did you do? My phone buzzed. Caitlin. Got it all. Crystal clear. You ready for tomorrow? I typed back. They have no idea what's coming. Tomorrow, their perfect wedding would become their perfect nightmare, and I had a front row seat to the show. The church bells chimed as I slipped into the back row, wearing a simple navy dress and carrying a small clutch containing everything I needed. No one noticed me. They were all focused on Natasha floating down the aisle in her obscenely expensive gown, paid for with my stolen money. Caitlin's voice came through my hidden earpiece. Sound systems connected. Ready when you are. I watched the ceremony unfold like a twisted theater production. Wade stood at the altar as best man, sweating visibly. Olive, the wedding planner, hovered near the side entrance, shooting nervous glances his way. Ladies and gentlemen, the pastor began, we are gathered here today. My finger hovered over my phone, waiting. The ceremony proceeded with picture-perfect precision, exactly what Natasha had demanded. When they reached the reception hall next door, that's when everything would change. 2 hours later, champagne flowed as guests mingled in the extravagantly decorated reception space. Caitlin texted, all speakers connected to our system, your mic is hot. Wade clinked his glass, preparing for his best man speech. My moment had arrived. My little sister, he began, voice shaking slightly. You've always deserved the very best, and I wanted to make sure you had exactly that for your special day. I pressed play on my phone. Suddenly, Wade's voice filled the room, but not from his current speech. I had to do it, man. Natasha needed the money, and Melina would have said no. The recording was crystal clear. Wade froze, champagne glass suspended midair. Just have Wade write her name in, Natasha's recorded voice followed. She'll never know. She doesn't even check the accounts anymore. The room fell silent. Natasha's face turned from confusion to horror. I stood up slowly. Please, don't stop on my account. You were saying something about deserving the best? Turn it off, Wade demanded, but his voice cracked. Why? I thought family shared everything. I pressed another button. Sterling's voice echoed through the speakers. Dude, that's straight up fraud. You forged her signature. Guests started whispering. Phones came out, recording everything. And let's not forget this gem, I continued, playing Natasha's rehearsal dinner comment. Even if she exposes us, Wade's not legally guilty. He used joint resources. It's her tough luck. Amelia stood up, swaying slightly. This is outrageous. Security. Oh, wait, I said. There's more. Olive, would you like to explain the Hotel Madison receipts? The ones Wade paid for with our joint account? Olive dropped her clipboard and ran for the door. Natasha's new husband turned to her, confusion written across his face. What hotel receipts? He demanded. The final recording played, Wade and Olive's intimate conversation about keeping their affair quiet, using my money to buy her silence. Natasha screamed, a raw, furious sound. She lunged at Wade, her expensive dress catching on a chair and ripping spectacularly. You slept with my wedding planner? She swung her bouquet at him. You paid her with stolen money? Baby sis, I can explain. Wade ducked as the flowers went flying. Don't you baby sis me. She turned to me, mascara running. You knew? You knew and you waited until now? Karma's a bit like wedding planning, I said calmly. It's all about timing. The room erupted into chaos. Guests were recording everything on their phones. John had to physically restrain Amelia, who looked ready to faint. Sterling stood up, facing the crowd. It's all true, he announced. I have copies of everything, the fraud, the theft, the affair, all of it. Wade made a move toward me, but two of Natasha's burlier cousins blocked his path. You ruined everything, Natasha shrieked, throwing her wedding ring at him. No, I corrected her, standing up. You ruined everything when you decided my life was worth less than your perfect wedding. The truth just has really bad timing. I walked toward the exit, pausing beside Wade. By the way, the police have copies of everything, including proof that you transferred funds before forging my signature. Still think you're not legally guilty? His face crumpled as the implications hit him. Oh, and Natasha? I turned back. The vendors know the truth now too. Good luck explaining where the money's coming from. I left them there, surrounded by the wreckage of their perfect day. Through my earpiece, I heard Caitlin laugh. Now that's what I call a wedding toast. Outside, the sun was setting. I could still hear the chaos erupting behind me, screaming, crying, the sound of dreams shattering like expensive champagne flutes. My phone buzzed with a text from Sterling. Police are on their way. You got what you wanted. I smiled, touching the necklace that had recorded everything. No, I whispered. I got what they deserved. 1 week after the wedding disaster, I sat across from District Attorney Marcus in his office, sliding a thick folder across his desk. Everything's here, I said. Bank statements, forged documents, audio recordings, witness statements. Sterling's already agreed to testify. He flipped through the pages, eyebrows rising. This is thorough, very thorough. I'm a project manager, I shrugged. Details matter. My phone buzzed, another text from Natasha. They're repossessing my car. I hope you're happy. The DA noticed my small smile. Family's been in contact? They're learning about consequences, I replied, showing him the text. Apparently vendors don't like being defrauded. His office phone rang. Yes? Send them in. 2 police officers entered, nodding to me. We just picked him up, the taller one said. At the golf club, like you said. I could picture it. Wade in his expensive polo shirt, probably mid-swing when the cuffs clicked shut. The country club gossips would have a field day. Mrs. Summers, the DA leaned forward, given the evidence, we're charging him with multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and misuse of marital assets. This won't be quick, but it will be thorough. My phone lit up again. Caitlin sending me a link. You need to see this. I clicked. It was a local news website. Society wedding ends in fraud charges. Prominent families fall from grace. It's gone viral, the DA commented. Your story's everywhere. Another text came through, this time from John. Can we talk, please? I showed the DA. First time my father-in-law said please to me in 15 years. People tend to find their manners when facing criminal charges, he observed dryly. I left his office to find Caitlin waiting in the lobby. You won't believe what just happened, she said, pulling up a video on her phone. It was security footage from outside Natasha's house. Vendors were removing rented furniture while she screamed at them from the doorway, still wearing her wedding dress. She hasn't taken it off, Caitlin explained. Says she's getting her money's worth. Speaking of money, I said, how's Amelia handling the social fallout? Her country club suspended her membership. Apparently, fraud doesn't align with their values. We walked to my car, passing a newspaper stand. The headline caught my eye. Wedding Bell Blues, How One Woman Exposed a Family's Web of Lies. You're famous, Caitlin nudged me. Infamous, I corrected. And I'm not done yet. Back at her place, we found an elegant bouquet waiting by the door. The card read, "Revenge suits you, but careful. It casts long shadows." "Amelia?" Caitlin asked. I checked the florist's name. "No, this is Olive's shop." "The wedding planner?" Bold move. Inside, my laptop was open to dozens of emails from reporters wanting interviews, but one subject line caught my eye. From the DA's office, urgent. "Olive Johnson is willing to talk," I read aloud. "She'll testify about everything, the affair, the money, all of it, in exchange for immunity." Caitlin whistled. "The final nail in Wade's coffin." "Not final," I said, opening a new document. "I'm writing everything down, every detail, every betrayal, every lie." "Going public with the whole story?" I nodded. "People need to know how easy it is to be betrayed by those closest to them, how family isn't always what it seems." My phone rang. Sterling. "Wade's being processed," he said without preamble. "He's asking for you." "Too bad," I replied. "I'm busy writing." "Writing what?" "The truth. All of it. Want to add your statement?" He was quiet for a moment. Yeah, I do." After hanging up, I saw a text from John. "Amelia's had a breakdown. She's in the hospital. Please, we need to talk." "Are you going?" Caitlin asked, reading over my shoulder. "No," I said, turning back to my laptop. They needed to talk when it mattered. Now they can talk to their lawyers. I began typing. "When my husband secretly emptied our joint accounts, I learned that family isn't about blood. It's about loyalty. And sometimes the most loyal thing you can do is expose the truth." Caitlin brought me coffee, settling in to help. Outside, thunder rolled. A storm was coming. How fitting. "You know," she said, "they thought they were burying you in scandal." I smiled, fingers flying over the keyboard. They forgot I know how to dig. The story poured out, raw and real. Let them see their perfect family facade crumble, one truth at a time. The moving boxes were labeled and stacked neatly by the door of my new apartment. Smaller, but mine. Completely mine. "Last one," Caitlin said, dropping a box marked kitchen. "You know, for someone who lost everything, you still have a lot of stuff." My phone buzzed with a news alert. Local businessman pleads guilty to fraud charges. "Wade took the deal," I told her. 5 years plus restitution. She peered over my shoulder at the article. "Look at that photo. Orange is definitely not his color." My story on Medium had gone viral overnight, spawning countless discussions about financial abuse and family manipulation. The comment section was filled with similar stories, people sharing their own experiences of betrayal and survival. The doorbell rang. Sterling stood there, holding a folder. "Thought you'd want to see this," he said, handing it over. "Natasha's husband filed for annulment, cited fraud as grounds." "Ironic," I mused, flipping through the papers. "There's more," he continued. "Olive Johnson gave her full statement to the DA yesterday. She's got receipts going back months. Literal receipts. Hotel rooms, gifts, all paid for with your money." My phone lit up with a text from Gemma, my old boss. "Position still open when you're ready. We miss you." "Speaking of money," Caitlin called from the kitchen, "check your email." I pulled it up to find a message from my lawyer. The judge had ordered full restitution of my funds plus damages. The Summers family's assets were being liquidated to comply. "They're selling the house," Sterling added. "John moved out last week. Amelia's still at her sister's, refusing to leave her room." "And Natasha?" He smiled grimly. "Living in a one-bedroom apartment. No more Range Rover." The doorbell rang again. This time it was a delivery, flowers with a card from John. "I'm sorry," it read. "You were right about everything. I should have spoken up." I placed the flowers on my new kitchen counter, their sweet scent mixing with fresh paint and new beginnings. "What's this?" Caitlin picked up a letter that had fallen from the bouquet. Probably another apology, I started, but stopped when I saw her expression. It's from your old investment firm, she said. They want you to speak at their conference. Topic: financial abuse and family fraud. I took the letter, remembering how scared I'd been when this all started, how alone I'd felt. You should do it, Sterling said. People need to hear this story from you. My phone buzzed again, a voicemail from Olive Johnson. I know you probably hate me, her voice wavered, but I want to testify in court in exchange for immunity. They need to know everything. About the affair, the money, all of it. You deserve that much. I saved the message and opened my laptop, adding to my ever-growing document. The story wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to everyone who'd ever been betrayed by those they trusted most. Hey, Caitlin called from the kitchen, where she was unpacking boxes. Found something you might want to see. She held up my old wedding photo. In it, Wade's family stood arranged perfectly, their smiles as fake as their love had been. Without hesitation, I took the frame and dropped it in the recycling bin. Some things don't deserve shelf space. Sterling cleared his throat. The DA wants to know if you'll speak at Wade's sentencing hearing. I looked around my new space, smaller but honest, every inch paid for with truth. Yes, I said. They need to hear what family really means. My phone lit up with another message, this time from a publisher. They wanted to turn my Medium article into a book. Look at that, Caitlin grinned. From victim to voice. I shook my head. I was never a victim, just someone who trusted the wrong people. The afternoon sun streamed through my new windows, catching the crystal vase holding John's flowers. Light fractured through it, casting rainbow patterns on my walls. Sometimes, I said, watching the colors dance, beautiful things come from broken pieces. Sterling and Caitlin helped me unpack as evening fell. My new home slowly took shape, not perfect, not grand, but real. Every item placed with purpose, every decision my own. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from an unknown number. Your story saved me. I'm leaving him tomorrow. I smiled, thinking of all the others out there, finding their strength through truth. They tried to bury me in the scandal they created, but I was the one holding the shovel. And now I'm building something new from the ground up. Something honest, something mine.